Hey there, do you want to make it easier to manually add contacts into your database in Infusionsoft so that you're only capturing the information that you really need to know at that time, and also use it in a way that you can trigger off various automation? So if that's the case, then check out this video. It's Mandy Brasser here from Streamline for Success, and I wanted to make this video because I was actually speaking to some longer term Infusionsoft users the other day. I mean, they've had their apps for over 7 years and they were actually blown away by this feature. So if you haven't got this in place, you certainly want to pay attention and ensure that you have this set up, because it will make your life as well as your team's lives a lot easier. So you may be aware that when you go into Infusionsoft and you want to add a new contact into your database, you have this little plus icon up on the top right hand corner, and there's a default add contact form. Now there's a couple of limitations to this form. So firstly, you're very much limited to just first name, last name, email and phone, when actually you may want to capture more information and set up automation based on a new contact being entered. Well, there's actually a way in which you can do it. So the big thing here is ensuring that you've got an internal form and that you've got a particular setting updated to actually let the system know what would you like to default there. And we're going to go through both of those things in this video. So a couple of the downsides, as I mentioned, you can't change this form. It's kind of it is what it is with these particular fields that you've got to enter. But the other thing, a couple of key benefits of this other way of setting it up is lead source data. Now we know for our clients it's really important to understand, well, where have you got contacts and leads and prospects that get added to your database? And right now that doesn't even appear on here, right? There's no option to put in lead source. And also on the submission of this form, as I mentioned, it can't trigger off any automation, and you can't add other fields and pieces of data in there that you want to update. So what we can do is actually create an internal form, which we've done in here, and we can set up exactly what your staff need to submit in order to create a new contact. And you can add in some wording around it, and we'll come back to that little comment there in a moment. But in field snippets, you want to click and drag anything that you want to add. So you can see we've got lead source in there, and that's mandatory. So whenever anyone fills out this form, it's mandatory that they provide the lead source as well as the first name and email address. So any other core information that you want to actually update on or add to a new contact, then you want to go ahead and fill out and just insert whatever is relevant here for you at the time of somebody being added to your database, right? So put that in here. Then secondly, you'll be able to use it to create automation or apply tags or set off different functions to happen through that automation. So in here, in this particular dummy example, you could set this up with what type of contacts are they, and there might be tags driven to determine and tag based on what they select there. If you're using the sales module pipeline, then based on this contact being added, you can also tell the system, hey, yes, I do want that sales opportunity created. You may have a tag that's being used to set up your newsletter, so you may want to also, ensuring that you've got their permission, add them to the newsletter, and any other notes. And I find this really helpful, particularly if I'm adding them and there's other people in the database who may come across this contact. Some more background as to how I got them onto the database. Yes, I've got lead source here. I might put in here, maybe it was a referral partner. Hey, I got it from Susie Brown, and she mentioned that this person is needs some help with blah, 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 whatever that might be. But add those notes in here to make it a lot easier for yourself later on to understand what the goal was with this particular contact. So that's just an example. So what you want to do is make sure you set up that as an internal form. And of course you can go ahead and set up automation based on different responses in there. So the question we had around create opportunity, we could always put in another sequence to automate an opportunity stage to be created at that particular time, and so on and so forth. So it looks like I've made a little change there, so let's go ahead and publish. All right, so you've got the form. Fantastic, all ready to go. The next thing you want to do is head into My Navigation, top left, under CRM Settings. And if you scroll right down here, there's an option here for default quick add form. And this is where you get to change it. So at the moment, it's this, sorry, let me just refresh this page. It's this default one. Not very helpful, right? So if you go back here, I can change it to the staff manual add. And in fact, you can set it to any. That's completely fine. And let's go ahead and save. So now if I refresh my page, and up here, it defaults to the main form we want everybody who's adding somebody to the database to complete. So it makes it a lot easier to ensure that you're collecting all the relevant information from everybody who adds contacts into your database with the same form, because this is the one that's going to be the default. And you've got the tags, any automation, any notes, it's all happening in the one place. Because previously with that default, they'd have to fill that out. Then the contact would be created. They need to go into the contact record to update all their details, and so on and so forth. So this makes your life a lot easier. Streamline this and get it down to actually what are the bare minimums that you need to have, or what's some information that you would also be collecting at the same time. Now, a couple of really important things that you cannot forget around this process is anything that you've got mandatory. So we've got first name, email, and lead source. You may want to put phone as a mandatory field. However, just keep in mind that the user has to have that detail in order to add the contact into Infusionsoft. So if you make that mandatory and they don't have a phone number, this is going to go one of two ways. Firstly, they're not going to do it. They're not going to enter it this way, or they're going to try and it's not going to work, and they might get frustrated and the contact just never gets added, or a dummy phone number gets entered in there, and someone might forget to come back and delete that once the contact's created. So keep that in mind. You don't want to go down that approach. Just make sure you only make the things in here that are really needed mandatory. The other thing too is make sure that you always check to just confirm that the contact doesn't already exist in Infusionsoft. One of the things around this internal form, it does not do a duplicate check like the web forms do in Infusionsoft, because you're actually in the database. So before you go ahead and complete this, you want to go ahead and actually just check the email or the name. Oh, yep, they're already here. I can go ahead and update their contact. If I can't find them, then go ahead and fill out this particular form. So look, it's completely up to you how you want to embrace this. I would recommend, if you do have a team, start with a more simple form first. Make sure they understand. Go ahead and insert paragraph snippet in there and add notes as to help your users and help yourself remember what you need to complete and what things will be kicked off if you are using any automation on the back of this. It will make it a lot easier to have, for you and everyone, to have more confidence understanding what will be kicked off by having those notes in there. So look, I would love to hear if this has been helpful for you. It's Mandy Brasser from Streamline for Success. I know this has made a huge difference for a number of our clients, and even some other prospects we were talking to the other day who were not even aware of this feature. So one other thing quickly before I do go, if you want to have a few other forms accessible from this quick add as well, what you can do is in that same area, in this quick add forms, you can go ahead and just select another couple of forms in there if you want, and go ahead and save. So there'll be one default, and then you could always have some other ones that you can select from if you wish. All right, that's pretty much it. So I hope that helps, and I'll talk to you soon.